On July 5, 1948, the police arrived at 1465 Capri Drive in Pacific Palisades to find the lifeless body of Carole Landis. She lay slumped over, a half-empty bottle of Seconal at her side, a note to her mother nearby, and an emptiness in the room that seemed almost to echo the Hollywood hills themselves. The glamour and laughter that once followed her every step had vanished, leaving only silence, mystery, and the aching question: how could a woman so radiant, so young, vanish from the world in such despair? Carole Landis was born Frances Lillian Mary Ritzter on January 1st, 1919, in the small town of Fairchild, Wisconsin. She was the youngest of 5 children, the only one whose life would spiral into the glimmering chaos of Hollywood. Her father, a drifting railroad mechanic, left the family shortly after her birth, leaving her mother to raise the children alone in a home shadowed by absence and unfulfilled promise. From the earliest days, Carole sensed the fragility of life, the impermanence of comfort, and the hunger that drives one to seek something beyond what is given. The wide Midwestern skies were her first stage, the barns and cornfields her playground. And yet, even as a child, she imagined something more. She would practice singing in front of mirrors, dance to imaginary audiences, and commit the details of beauty to memory. The tilt of a head, the curve of a smile, the weight of expectation that might someday crown her. But the farm was unforgiving, and the quiet despair of her mother etched itself into Carole's young mind. Survival demanded both resilience and rebellion. By her teenage years, that inner restlessness became a force. She left school, abandoned the small-town predictability, and set her sights on San Francisco. There, she danced in clubs, performed in small theater shows, and began constructing the persona she would one day present to the world: Carole Landis. It was a careful transformation, a meticulous reinvention. The shy, abandoned farm girl of Fairchild was shed in favor of the confident, shimmering figure who could charm audiences and capture the attention of talent scouts. Her early years in Hollywood, beginning in 1936, were marked by anonymity and struggle. Uncredited roles, ghost appearances in musicals, fleeting glimpses on screen every day were a test of patience and resilience. Rejection was constant. The studios demanded perfection, charisma, and compliance, and Carole gave all three while longing for recognition that seemed to evade her at every corner. Each small part she landed was both a victory and a reminder of how far she had yet to go, fueling both ambition and the quiet sting of insecurity. By 1939, after years of relentless striving and careful cultivation of her image, Hollywood began to notice. Yet even as she attracted attention, Carole's internal world remained complex, mixture of longing for genuine connection and a drive to assert her artistic worth beyond the superficial labels others imposed. Her beauty, her voice, and her presence were the keys to fame, but they were never enough to satiate the hunger inside her. The stage was set, and her life's drama was only beginning. As the 1930s bled into Hollywood's golden age, Carole Landis was no longer the farm girl from Wisconsin, but a young woman navigating a city that promised dreams and delivered harsh lessons in equal measure. Her teenage rebellion had transformed into a calculated pursuit of opportunity. She worked tirelessly in small clubs, singing and dancing under dim lights that flickered like the uncertain fate of those who dared to chase stardom. Each performance was a test of courage and patience, and each rejection a subtle erosion of the innocence she had carried from home. Yet her ambition remained unshakable, a flickering flame that refused to die even as the shadows of poverty, uncertainty, and heartbreak pressed in. By 1937, she had adopted the name Carole Landis, a reinvention that symbolized her desire to become more than her past. Hollywood was a labyrinth of glittering facades and hidden perils, where young women were measured by their beauty as much as their talent. Carole learned early that the right smile, the right angle, the right glance could open doors that years of skill might not. She faced relentless scrutiny from casting directors, agents, and the press, enduring whispers about her weight, her demeanor, and her ability to fit the mold of a studio darling. Every audition was a gamble, every rejection a reminder that the industry was as cruel as it was seductive. Financial strain shadowed her every step. Nights were spent in boarding houses, mornings in the pursuit of the next small part, the next fleeting opportunity. Her family, distant and preoccupied, could offer little guidance or support. Loneliness, she discovered, became both companion and tormentor, whispering doubts even as it fueled her determination. Carole cultivated charm and poise, understanding that survival in Hollywood required both talent and strategic performance off-screen. She began to network with actors, writers, and producers, some offering genuine guidance, others exploiting ambition for their own gain. The late 1930s brought small victories, background roles, chorus parts, and brief appearances in minor films. Each small success was a step forward, yet they came with psychological costs. Carole learned to mask disappointment with laughter, to wear a facade of confidence while wrestling with self-doubt and longing. Her early romantic entanglements mirrored the turbulence of her career. Flings with fellow actors, mentors, and even studio executives offered glimpses of connection, but often ended in betrayal or disillusionment. She was learning, sometimes painfully, that in Hollywood, affection and ambition were often intertwined in dangerous, unpredictable ways. By 1940, Carole's persistence was on the brink of reward. It was the year she landed the role that would transform her trajectory. Lorna in 1 Million, BC, the prehistoric setting, the dramatic costuming, and the public fascination with her allure all combined to create her first taste of genuine fame. The publicity was intense. Magazines and newsreels hailed her as a new rising star. Yet with sudden attention came pressures she had not yet fully comprehended. The expectation to maintain a perfect image, the invasive gaze of the public and press, and the unrelenting pace of studio life that demanded both compliance and constant energy. Even as her career began to shimmer with promise, Carole's inner life remained complex and private, a tapestry of insecurities and ambitions, dreams and fears. She had learned that Hollywood could reward brilliance but just as swiftly crush it, that charm and beauty were currency but never the full measure of a person, and that the path to recognition was a tightrope over shadows as deep as they were alluring. In this delicate balance of hope and danger, Carole Landis stood poised at the edge of destiny, unaware that the next chapters of her life would be both dazzling and devastating. By 1940, Carole Landis had finally stepped from the shadows into the glaring lights of Hollywood. Cast as Lorna in 1 Million BC, she became more than a background figure. She was a vision, a symbol of desire and fascination. Draped in primitive furs and posed against artificial prehistoric landscapes, she captivated audiences not just with her beauty, but with a presence that suggested strength, curiosity, and daring. The public response was instantaneous. Fan letters poured in, gossip columns buzzed with her name, and the studios began to see her as a marketable commodity. Hollywood had finally noticed, but in its embrace lay both opportunity and peril. The sudden fame was intoxicating yet merciless. Carole signed with 20th Century Fox, where she began appearing in a string of musicals, comedies, and melodramas. Between 1941 and 1944, she was on screens almost constantly. Her image broadcast across newsreels, posters, and magazine covers. Her nicknames, the Pink Girl and the Chest, were emblematic of the era's fixation on physical allure. Though these titles brought recognition, they also boxed her in, reducing her talents to a single attribute and challenging her to assert her deeper artistic ambitions. Off-screen, the same scrutiny that built her fame shadowed her every move. Studio executives dictated her appearance, her schedule, and even her romantic associations. Carole learned to navigate these pressures with both charm and subtle defiance, seeking to maintain control in an environment designed to commodify her. Amid the glamour, Carole found moments of authentic fulfillment. In 1943, she volunteered for USO tours to entertain troops abroad, traveling to England and North Africa. The journey was grueling. She contracted illnesses like malaria and amoebic dysentery, endured harsh conditions, and witnessed the raw cost of war. Yet these experiences revealed a side of her that the cameras never captured: resilience, empathy, and a desire to make a real difference. Her memoir, 4 Jills in a Jeep, and the 1944 film adaptation captured these adventures, cementing her reputation not merely as a screen beauty, but as a courageous performer willing to brave danger to uplift others. Yet the intensity of fame came at a psychological cost. Carole's personal life became a battlefield where the pursuit of love, acceptance, and validation collided with public expectations. Romantic entanglements were frequent, fleeting, and often painful. Studio pressures, the constant travel, and the necessity to maintain her image exacerbated her insecurities. Her body, taxed by illness and the relentless pace of filming, became a site of both vulnerability and public obsession. She grappled privately with depression and anxiety, attempting to reconcile her rising stardom with an inner life that often felt hollow and exposed. By 1945, Carole had achieved the visibility she had long desired, but with it came the creeping realization that Hollywood's spotlight was both brilliant and unforgiving. Every success was measured, every misstep magnified, every relationship scrutinized. While she shone brightly in films like Star and Garter and I Wake Up Screaming, she also began to understand the fragility of fame, that the same audience that adored her could with equal force turn away. In this period, the tension between her public persona and private despair deepened, foreshadowing the tragic events that would eventually define her legacy. The stage was set. Carole Landis, once a restless girl from Wisconsin, had conquered Hollywood's doors. She had dazzled audiences, inspired troops, and proven that ambition could propel one from obscurity to recognition. But even at the height of her ascent, shadows gathered whispers of scandal, the precarious nature of love, and the relentless pressures of the industry hinted that her story would not conclude with triumph alone. By the mid-1940s, Carole Landis' star had burned brightly across Hollywood screens. Yet behind the glimmer of fame, a darker narrative quietly took shape. The world adored her beauty and charm, but few glimpsed the complex turbulence simmering beneath her poised exterior. Her personal relationships became both refuge and torment, reflecting the constant tension between desire and disappointment that had shadowed her life since childhood. The rumors began circulating in the studios and the gossip columns, whispers of affairs with co-stars, secret romances with influential producers, and the unspoken pressures of maintaining appearances in a city that demanded perfection. Some believe these liaisons were born of genuine passion. Others argue they were survival strategies in a world that commodified women as much as their talent. During 1946 and 1947, Carole's relationships intensified and became public fodder. Her involvement with British actor Rex Harrison was widely noted, though always shrouded in secrecy and tension. Harrison, married to another woman, could not commit, leaving Carole both captivated and devastated. According to sources close to her, the affair contributed to her deepening anxiety and emotional volatility. Simultaneously, Hollywood gossip painted a different picture. The Pink Girl was glamorous, fun-loving, and seemingly untouchable. But the chasm between her public persona and private reality widened with each passing year, revealing a woman desperate for love, acceptance, and a sense of stability that the industry could never provide. The pressures of stardom compounded these emotional struggles. Carole had suffered physically from the demands of USO tours, malaria, amoebic dysentery, and near-fatal bouts of pneumonia had left lingering scars on her body. Studio contracts were rigid and unforgiving. She was expected to maintain flawless beauty, meet grueling schedules, and project an image of effortless joy while her inner world strained against the constraints of fame. Private letters and interviews from this period reveal the mounting tension, a constant oscillation between exhilaration at her success and despair at the isolation it produced. In the public eye, Carole's charm remained intact, but behind closed doors, darker battles unfolded. She reportedly struggled with depression, bouts of insomnia, and feelings of inadequacy despite her accomplishments. Rumors of alcohol dependency circulated in Hollywood circles, and some biographers note that she experimented with sedatives to cope with anxiety and the relentless demands of her career. The dichotomy of her life, a celebrated icon adored for glamour and wit, yet increasingly tormented by private insecurities, became increasingly pronounced, setting the stage for the tragedy to come. Even her career choices reflected both ambition and vulnerability. While she continued to accept leading and supporting roles, the scripts offered were often repetitive, pigeonholing her as the glamorous starlet, rather than allowing her to explore the depth of her acting talent. Despite her desire for serious dramatic work, she found herself limited by typecasting, a subtle form of exploitation that left her professionally frustrated. Personal letters hint at the growing despair that accompanied her dwindling sense of control over her life, her career, and her emotional fulfillment. By late 1947, the cumulative pressures of Hollywood, unrequited love, and unresolved personal trauma had begun to erode the fragile stability she had maintained. The woman, who had once captivated audiences on screens and stages alike, now faced a private life marked by isolation, emotional turmoil, and a creeping sense of inevitability. Even as fans celebrated her vitality and allure, Carole Landis wrestled with the realization that fame could not insulate her from heartbreak, loneliness, or the haunting shadows of her past. The public saw the starlet. Few perceived the fractures beneath the facade. The summer of 1948 arrived with heat that seemed to mirror the mounting tension in Carole Landis's life. Her career, once full of promise, had slowed. The scripts that came her way were uninspired. Her allure on screen waning under the relentless demands of Hollywood's ever-hungry gaze. Personal despair intertwined with professional disappointment. The unresolved pain of failed relationships, particularly her intense and ultimately unfulfilled affair with Rex Harrison, weighed heavily on her. The isolation she had felt for years now pressed upon her like a physical force, leaving her anxious, exhausted, and emotionally raw. On July 4th, 1948, the evening seemed ordinary at first. Carole dined with Harrison, the man whose love she had longed for and who remained emotionally unavailable. Friends noted that she appeared calm, even collected, radiating the charm she had always worn so effortlessly. But beneath the composed surface, she wrestled with a storm of despair. She packed their letters into a suitcase, an act that spoke of her attempts to preserve memories while preparing herself for the unbearable truth she felt she could not survive. Later that night, alone in her Pacific Palisades home, Carole confronted the depth of her anguish. She poured herself drinks, lit a cigarette, and began composing a note to her mother, an apology tinged with love and regret, an attempt to explain what words could scarcely capture. The next morning, July 5th, 1948, would forever mark the final act in a life of brilliance and struggle. Carole Landis was discovered in her home, slumped over the remnants of an overdose of Seconal. The note to her mother lay nearby, a silent testament to a heart overwhelmed by longing, pain, and exhaustion. Officially, her death was ruled suicide, and the press quickly framed the story as another tragic cautionary tale of Hollywood excess. Yet whispers persisted. Friends and family spoke quietly of unanswered questions, of the immense pressures she faced in both her personal and professional spheres, of love denied and ambitions thwarted. Some believed foul play could never be fully ruled out, while others insisted the final act was the culmination of years of unrelenting emotional strain. Carole's passing sent shockwaves through Hollywood. The public mourned the glamorous figure who had lit up screens and entertained troops in distant war zones. But few grasped the private battles she had fought daily. Her death was more than a headline. It was the collapse of a woman whose life had been a delicate balancing act between public adoration and private despair, between relentless ambition and unfulfilled desire. It illuminated the fragility of fame, the human cost of beauty, and the perilous nature of Hollywood's golden age. A world where young women were celebrated for allure, yet often abandoned to their inner turmoil. Even in death, Carole's story retained its haunting, cinematic quality. She was buried in Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, her grave marked by the quiet dignity of a life interrupted. Letters, memorabilia, and echoes of her performances endure, leaving a portrait of a woman both radiant and tragic, courageous and vulnerable, whose final act remains a poignant reminder of the shadows that often accompany the brightest lights. Though Carole Landis's life was cut tragically short at 29, her story did not end with her death. Hollywood remembered her not merely as a glamorous screen presence, but as a symbol of both ambition and vulnerability. A woman who had danced along the razor's edge of fame and heartbreak. Her contributions to cinema, particularly her work during World War's entertaining troops, solidified her reputation as a performer of courage and charisma, one whose impact extended beyond the silver screen to the hearts of soldiers and citizens alike. 4 Jills in a Jeep immortalized this chapter of her life, offering glimpses of a woman committed to more than beauty, a performer who embraced risk and sought to leave a tangible mark on the world. Yet the fascination with Carole Landis endures in part because of the unanswered questions her life left behind. Scholars and fans alike continue to speculate about the pressures that led to her final act. The thwarted romance with Rex Harrison, the relentless demands of Hollywood, the emotional scars from childhood abandonment, and the long shadow of typecasting that constrained her artistry. Some historians suggest that she struggled to reconcile the public persona of the Pink Girl with her own aspirations as a serious actress, while others highlight the emotional cost of constant travel, illness, and exposure to an industry that demanded perfection yet offered little protection. Every photograph, every fan letter, every film clip seems tinged with both glamour and a hidden sadness, inviting reflection on the fragile boundary between fame and personal despair. Her influence can be traced in the generations of actresses who followed, women who navigated the treacherous currents of Hollywood while seeking to assert identity, autonomy, and artistry within a world that often measured worth by looks rather than talent. Carole's story serves as both a cautionary tale and a source of inspiration, a reminder of the human cost of ambition, the resilience required to chase dreams, and the necessity of compassion for those who appear flawless under the spotlight. Even today, her name evokes curiosity, admiration, and melancholy. Film historians recount her rise and fall with reverence for her charm and empathy for her vulnerabilities. Biographers continue to revisit letters, interviews, and accounts from friends and colleagues, attempting to reconstruct the full texture of a life lived both in dazzling light and profound shadow. Her grave in Forest Lawn remains a silent testament, visited by those drawn to the haunting allure of a starlet whose story combines beauty, courage, tragedy, and enduring mystery. Carole Landis's life, though brief, continues to speak across decades, reminding us that fame is as fragile as it is seductive, that the brightest lights can cast the deepest shadows, and that every smile on screen may conceal untold sorrows behind the scenes. Her story lingers in the flicker of black and white film, in the echoes of wartime songs, in the memory of those who loved her, and in the questions that will never fully be answered. She's both icon and enigma, a radiant presence whose life and death continue to captivate, haunt, and compel reflection. Carole Landis was more than a name in the credits. She was a mirror of ambition and vulnerability, beauty and despair, courage and fragility. In remembering her, we glimpse the human heart behind the Hollywood dream, brilliant, fragile, and unforgettable. In the quiet that followed her death on July 5th, 1948, Carole Landis' life settled into a space between memory and myth, a delicate tension that continues to intrigue and haunt. Hollywood moved on, as it always does, yet fragments of her brilliance remain scattered across screens, letters, and wartime anecdotes. The woman who had once lit up 1 million BC who had risked illness and exhaustion to entertain soldiers on distant battlefields, and who had navigated the glittering yet ruthless world of studio contracts, became more than a starlet. She became a symbol of the fragile humanity beneath the glamour. Her story is a mosaic of contradictions. A woman adored for beauty and talent, yet tormented by loneliness, celebrated for courage, yet constrained by industry and circumstance, publicly visible, yet privately invisible. The pressures that built her up also wore her down, and the same Hollywood machine that had elevated her image could not save her from the inner battles she fought alone. Fans, historians, and fellow performers alike continue to wrestle with the question of what might have been, what roles she could have inhabited, what love she might have experienced, what joy she might have endured if fame had been kinder, or if the world had paused long enough to see beyond the surface. Carole's death remains a haunting testament to the complexity of life in the public eye. The letters she packed, the notes she wrote, the love she sought, and the ambitions she chased leave a shadow that stretches across decades, reminding us that every glamorous visage carries a private story, every celebrated smile a hidden struggle. Her life and death offer a cautionary illumination of fame's double edge, the dazzling light that captivates the world and the darkness it can cast within those it elevates. Yet even in her absence, she endures. Carole Landis lives in the flicker of old films, in the wartime stories that captured her bravery, in the bitter recollections of those who knew her intimately, and in the endless curiosity of those who seek to understand her fully. The mystery of her life, its ambitions, heartbreaks, triumphs, and tragedies, persists unresolved, untamed, and emotionally resonant. Every image, every line spoken, every photograph is a whisper of a woman who sought more than recognition. She sought meaning, connection, and authenticity in a world that often valued only her image. Carole Landis' story closes without full resolution, as life itself often does. It leaves us captivated by her beauty, saddened by her struggles, inspired by her courage, and haunted by the questions that remain unanswered. The allure of Hollywood, the costs of ambition, and the complexity of human desire converge in her narrative, creating a cinematic arc that continues to echo across generations. She was more than a starlet. She was a life of brilliance and fragility, hope and despair, courage and heartbreak. Her presence lingers, not just in memory, but in the shadows she casts across the shimmering dreamscape of Hollywood history. Her story reminds us that even the brightest lights can flicker too soon, yet their glow, intense, enigmatic, and unforgettable, endures. Carole Landis' life, death, and mystery continue to captivate, leaving us with a poignant sense of loss, reflection, and awe. The questions she left behind are as haunting as her radiance, a reminder that the most luminous lives often conceal the deepest shadows.